Riley Davis, Heat Check CBB, here with Connor Hope, my Heat Check cohort, breaking down Alabama, taking the L to Clemson in Tuscaloosa, 85-77. Clemson's a team that, we as Heat Check, I think, pretty much as a consensus thought were pretty good. I believe you and I were both high on them in the preseason and their ACC rankings and everything. Personally, I was a little bit scared off by their performances against UAB and Davidson 2 weeks ago. Dropped them out of my top 25 where I had them in that, I think, 21, 22 type range. This is a big win. It's a win that's coming off of a really impressive victory over Boise State as well. But to go into Tuscaloosa, to an arena that's tough to play, to physically overpower an Alabama team that we talked about how good they were on the glass, a team that has shown stretches of being able to kind of get in the mud defensively. Definitely not the case for the Tide this year, though, and we saw that on display. What'd you take from this game?
Yeah, I mean, I know I said that the magic number was 75% defensive rebounding percentage. Clemson didn't even get there. It was around 67%, 33 defensive rebounds to 16 offensive for Alabama. But Hunter, Gerard, Hall from deep in that second half, especially in like that middle 10 minutes of that second half, when you have a team that is shooting that well against a team in Alabama that isn't, they shot under 40% from 2-point range. They shot under 32% from three. And they've been highly efficient all year. I think Clemson showed that they were the better defensive team, and Alabama just couldn't. They had Mark Sears, and that was about it. And he was trying to get at the rim. He was trying to shoot. And just he wasn't able to get everything going by himself. But Grant Nelson shot seemed off the entire game, especially in that second half. Aaron Estrada wasn't hitting threes efficiently either. So I still think Alabama can be really good. But they had some issues defensively stopping this Clemson team from getting, I mean, both at all three levels, right? Getting to the rim and from three. And granted, Clemson shot and made a few tough threes in this game, some deep ones, but a lot of those threes that they made were kind of clean looks against this Alabama defense.
Yeah, that was one of my takes too. Like that middle 10-minute stretch you mentioned, Joe Girard, Chase Hunter, they couldn't miss. But at the same time, it was like Chase Hunter was just getting open shots off the bounce off of a ball screen. Like there weren't even a hand in his face half the time. And that's where it's like this Alabama team, you're wondering where's the discipline, where's the toughness, where's the connectedness. And yeah, I feel kind of like a dummy not really talking about that in our preview. I sort of thought it would turn to a track meet, and I gave Alabama the advantage because they were at home, and even thought there was a chance they could get hot and run away with it, which is terrible take in hindsight. But yeah, Chase Hunter was great. Girard was awesome. And I loved how, you penciled that maybe Rylan Griffin would be able to expose a slower footed wing on Clemson. That wasn't the case either, because they played three guards part of the time, whether it was Josh Beadle out there, whether it was Dylan Hunter, and, neither of those guys lit up the stat sheet, but they certainly kept Rylan Griffin in check. And even Girard was on Griffin some, and he held his end of the bargain. Like it wasn't like they just attacked him repeatedly. But yeah, it wasn't even just the backcourt. Like, thought Ian Shefflin was awesome, had 14 rebounds against one of the best teams on the glass in the country. That dude is just tough, and he makes really smart passes too. And like, you can't say enough about PJ Hall, who's just a freaking man among boys out there. Like PJ Hall it's long overdue for him to get his flowers. He is in the top 10 of Ken Palm's Player of the Year for the stat nerds out there. He's finally getting his due there. But hopefully this gets him on the national radar a little bit more, because I love PJ Hall, love his game.
Yeah, and they did this, if you look at the non-scoring numbers, right? Dead even in rebounds, Alabama had 16 on the offensive end. Dead even in assists, Alabama had more steals, 7-4. Clemson had more blocks, 7-3. Alabama had fewer turnovers. Alabama had fewer fouls in this game. So all of the non-scoring metrics still favored Alabama. It was just, I mean, Clemson made life tough for Alabama. Alabama got sent to the line 26 times to Clemson's 15. Like it was just a physical game from Clemson. And I don't think Alabama quite met the physicality at the end of the day. And maybe they can't this year. Grant Nelson, for his 6'11 frame, isn't a huge body guard or forward. And a lot of these Clemson bigs, PJ Hall being one of them, even Shefflin, are big body bigs. Like they can outmuscle you, and they outmuscled Grant Nelson in this game, who finished with 8 rebounds. But PJ Hall and Shefflin, I mean, there are a couple of times where Shefflin just kind of manned rebounds away from the Alabama bigs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we haven't even mentioned RJ Godfrey yet, who also is just like a physical specimen. I mean, it looks like Clemson, they have grown men who are in their junior, senior, maybe even fifth year. I don't know. I haven't looked that up, but they have veterans in the front court who are just physical and know how to get on the glass and make those hustle plays. Whereas Alabama, I know we highlighted how it's a testament to Nate Oates and his system, his coaching, to where the offensive rebounding numbers hadn't fallen off from last year. The competition's ramping up. They need more out of Muhammad Waggy. I still don't know how to say that guy's name, but I love the flashes that he showed at West Virginia. Like, again, he's another per 40 minute and advanced stat darling from his role last year. Blocked a ton of shots, grabbed a ton of boards, and yet, I mean, he played 15 minutes a game. I don't think Nick Pringle's the answer there. I think Jaron Stevenson, he's had his moments where he's looked really good against mid-majors. But yeah, he looked like a reclass freshman tonight. So they got to get their front court issues figured out pronto.
Yeah, and I think I missed the beginning of the game. What happened to Jack Clark? Because he was kind of absent for most of that game. Was it just the strength of the rest of the team? Because I know,
Yeah.
I
mean, I'm not entirely sure. I think Jack Clark hasn't necessarily slid right into the Hunter Tyson role that I kind of thought like maybe he could be a poor man's version of Hunter. Yeah, he hasn't really, even his 3 ball hasn't been falling, and he hasn't quite had the productivity yet. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything in particular that got him pulled from this one. I might have missed an injury or something I didn't see.
Yeah, because I know he started, but it seemed to be, all Shefflin and PJ Hall with, they Godfrey was big in this game, and maybe that's why he fell out. I mean, Godfrey's been huge all year, but he was highly efficient. But I mean, he was playing with 4 fouls, so was PJ Hall. So it was just weird to see kind of a nothing burger from Jack Clark in this game.
Yeah. It seems like, I don't know, just a quick Twitter search. Don't see any injuries on him, but I think it's more so probably matchup based, and Godfrey was cooking, and they rolled with him and Shefflin, who was, manhandling some of these dudes. So big win for Clemson, big win for the ACC, the whole conference. As an ACC school supporter, we need these teams to not, get some good wins, boost those net ratings, make it so that there's not a conference full of landmines to just slip up with. So happy to see it for the Tigers. Shout out Brad Brownell, consistently avoiding the hot seat, eluding the hot seat turning into like a job termination, and he's got a squad this year.